have to become yourself.
Welcome to Creating a Buzz About Health podcast with Paula Carnell.
Hello. So welcome to my podcast, Creating a Buzz About Health. And today I am joined by the wonderful Tommy Gan. And you may have heard me mention him before. And if you're in the Skool community, you'll be very familiar with Tommy. And I thought it's about time I have him here. So hello, Tommy.
Hi, Paula. Great to have you. Great to be here.
Oh, it is. It's long overdue that we have a chat. So I met you through a business mastermind that we're both in, and we instantly connected. There was a sort of a networking Zoom, and we were put in the same breakout room a couple of times. So we got to know each other. And I'd been in HNC for a while, and you were new. So I sort of felt I was just so excited that you joined. And then maybe you thought of me as a big sister or mother figure who could just sort of be watching over you. And since you've been in HNC, you have become an angel. You are, you're just supporting everyone. You understand the true meaning of networking. And you're working from the heart, which of course I really love. And in a business environment, it's so refreshing to see. So would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, and maybe what you were doing when we met and what you're doing now, because it's evolved incredibly.
Yeah, it has. I guess it's been about a year since I joined HNC, and when we first connected, and I still am in this short-term rental industry. So I'm a consultant for portfolio Airbnb businesses or short-term rental businesses, and that's what I've been doing for like the last 10 years. Yeah, and now I have developed a new skill set of building communities on Skool, and that's where I'm kind of moving and transitioning to.
Oh, so you got me into Skool. I had never heard of Skool. Or maybe it was floating around in the background, but I'd never looked at it, didn't know what it was. And then you introduced me to Skool, and it has changed. It's just transformed my business, and I absolutely love it. But how did you first get to hear about Skool? I mean, going from property portfolios and, helping people build their Airbnb business, which you don't think of as being a sort of a community-based thing. I mean, although properties and communities are important, but how did you then move on to Skool?
Yeah, so I guess I found my way to Skool about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. So I joined a few high ticket masterminds, and the masterminds were held on Skool because that was seen as the upcoming thing, the new place to be. And I suppose even like 4 years ago, people were starting to move away from Facebook, and that was kind of the creation of Skool, was to move away from the algorithm, to get away from ads, and have better control of your own community space. So I joined these communities, but they didn't really feel like communities. I joined because I paid a lot of money for the high ticket mastermind, and that's where they were held. And so I joined the communities, learn from the educators, the course leaders, but ultimately it didn't feel like a social platform to me at the time. And so after I learned the stuff I needed to learn, then I was back on Facebook, on Instagram, and that was where my social life kind of was. And it wasn't until August last year, so 2025, when Alex Hormozi launched his third book, that I then actually became seriously a member and a community owner on Skool. So I created, I bought a bunch of his books. I was giving those away, and so I created. Yeah, and so I signed up for the 90-day free trial because Facebook limited me and restricted me from posting, basically. So I decided to make use of the 90-day free trial, created a Skool community, and it grew really quickly. And I guess this is where we are at the moment.
God. So I had never heard of Alex Hormozy until you shared about it and you had the books, and I was attracted. I mean, like a lot of these business things, it's all about making money. But having come back from the island and having to sort of start my business from scratch, I was like, okay, I've got a lot of experience, but I need to know, I've got a sort of fresh canvas. Which direction should I go in? And I trusted you. I trusted your judgment and your excitement about Skool. And I thought, and I had been trying to set up, or I have had a community for a few years. I had one on Facebook, which was just really difficult to manage. People wouldn't see the posts. It was just a nightmare. And I find Facebook really difficult to cope with. It's too distracting. And then I had another platform, Groove, where I had my membership, and the members really supported us while we were on the island, and that's why I set up the membership, so people could see what we were doing while we were away. And I wanted to build a community. But again, the tech was so challenging. It was challenging for the user, and it was even more challenging for me. And there was no ease of use. You couldn't alter anything. And people kept getting locked out, so, and for no reason, and they couldn't even reset a password. It was like, this email isn't recognized, so it was a nightmare. So then when you came up and talked about Skool and Alex Hormozy, I was expecting the book to be all about Skool, but it wasn't. It was about customer service. It was about looking after people, and in such a genuine, heartfelt way. So even though it's about making money, it's about making money honestly and by serving. So reading the book, I was like, okay, yeah, I get this. But I was a bit slow to starting up my community. So I moved my community straight away. But like any new platform, you just don't know what you're doing. And then you contacted me and said, right, Paula, let's do this properly. And you understood how Skool worked and how I could get the most from the platform. So that's what was a real game changer. And now we're looking at an amazing growing community. I've been featured on the Skool News. And I feel like I'm being seen, and it's attracting people from all over the world. So, but when I saw your community, I mean, you had thousands of people who'd come in straight away. So that sort of magnetic marketing, you're embodying it. You're just attracting. And wherever I go into another community, you're there. You're just, you're all around Skool. So, that must have been a big leap for you in August. So can you share a bit about the journey and what you learned and what the big takeaways were?
Yeah, gosh, it's been such a big journey since August. So when I first created the group, it was just to share the book. It was, Facebook wasn't the place to share it, and so I created the community on Skool, and it was originally called the 100 Million Money Model Supergroup, and it was just to bring people with the book together, and so that we could talk about the principles of the book. And ultimately it grew to much greater than just the book. And we, I suppose by the end of September, we already decided that the name needed to change, and it wasn't the core focus wasn't just the book. It was much greater than the book already. We started building a community around the book, and there were many things that I wanted to talk about. So I got my business partner Ian in there, and we talk about lots of business topics, strategy, and as much as it is important, the book, and there's a lot of things to talk about, there's other things that we've got business experience in as well, and we wanted to incorporate that as well. And because there was such a diverse background of people in the community, people that have got businesses already, some people have brand new, and they're looking to start their first online business, and then there's also like multi-million-dollar businesses already in there that are established. And so we had to think of something that would kind of apply universally to everybody, and that was difficult. But something that I'd stumbled across is a term called FIRE number, and FIRE is an acronym for Financial Independence Retiring Early. And so we decided to focus on this concept for the community, and we called it the FIRE Games. So it's tied in with the Skool games. So every quarter, the platform runs a competition called the Skool Games, and effectively every community can compete to increase their monthly recurring revenue, so MRR. And if you stack your MRR, then you can start positioning yourself in the leaderboard in terms of how much revenue that you can bring in. So the more revenue you bring in, obviously, the higher you rank on the leaderboard, and you get ranked according to the 9 categories of Skool. So that could be like, you know, hobbies, money, health, music, what other ones is there?
Spirituality.
Yeah. So yeah, there's 9 categories altogether, and you're obviously in the spirituality category. Originally, you were in health because it was about health, and then we'd rebranded because you were launching your new book, and yeah, that was fun. That was that was interesting because when I first joined Skool this time round, I'd never created a community before, and so we were both testing it together. Mm-hmm. You know, it was new for me, it was new for you. We were both doing the 90-day free trial, and I suppose towards the end of the 90 days, I think it was probably around about day 75, just before the 90 days, I think that's when I approached you and I said, you know, I think I've got a better plan. I think we can relaunch, and I think I could get a better result. And it was very much a test phase because it wasn't something that I was sure of, but I had a very good feeling that I thought that we could launch and get a far better result from what I learned. And I couldn't really do that with my community because it was too big at that time. We were already at probably 1,500 members. And so it wouldn't make sense for me to relaunch my community. But I think at the time you had 23 members. Mm-hmm. It was great to get those 23 members, but I felt really deeply that I could get a bigger result and that we could just transition these 23 members into a new community, and that wouldn't be too much of an issue. And I remember that you had some reservations about that at the very beginning, but you were like, okay, well, you know, I trust you, and we went ahead and we tried it.
I just felt so much for my poor members who'd stuck with me for a couple of years, and we'd had so many problems with the other platform. And then I, you know, coaxed them onto Skool, which for all of us was a new platform. And then, you know, we'd been ticking along for a few months, and I didn't understand how Skool was working. And it felt like I was going in and posting, and then I still am using the WhatsApp group for my other member, you know, for the membership group, and saying, oh, I've just put this on Skool. And yeah, it wasn't calling me in. So I was in a couple of other communities, but again, I hadn't really understood it. I didn't really get it. And I didn't know what the Skool games were. And, you know, it was just all a bit confusing. And then, yeah, I did trust you. And it made sense as well. I was reluctant to have a different name for the community because it's like, no, I'm creating a buzz about health. It's like my podcast, you know, it's what I do. And then it means I can talk about bees and health. But you're right. I'd launched a new book, Spiritual Beekeeping, and the book had, since 2017, that title, Spiritual Beekeeping, was really core to what I was doing. But it was only coming back from COCOS that I had the confidence and, you know, I suppose the wisdom, you know, to actually be a spiritual beekeeper out loud, you know, to say this is what I was doing. So it was genius to change the name and tie it in with the book. And now what I'm finding is people are coming in and they get it. They can creating a buzz about health. Although it was clear to me, it was like trying to be too big an umbrella. And the spiritual beekeeping, I've got people who are beekeepers that want to work more spiritually, And then I've got spiritual people who love bees and they understand the importance of bees being spiritual. And so I'm not having to explain it. And it's been able to bring in people. And yesterday, inspired by you, did this post about, who's in here, tell us what you're, what do you do? What do you love? What's your gift to the hive? And it's just mind blowing because people have so many gifts. And then I've even received private messages following that post where they haven't quite got the confidence to put it up in the, in the actual post, but they're sharing with me. And this has just been phenomenal. And I feel the energy of Skool, the energy I wanted to create in my community, that I remember speaking about it in July, in August at talks I was doing at festivals. And it was like, yes, this is what I want to do, but I didn't have the platform to do it on. And now I have, and it's amazing. But can you share a bit about actually Alex Hormozi, because if someone hasn't heard of him, who is he and why is he key to Skool?
So a little bit about Skool, I suppose. So there's Alex Hormozi and there's Sam Ovens. So Sam Ovens is the founder of Skool, and he created Skool around about 5 years ago. I think it's just over 5 years ago. So originally he owned consulting.com. So he was a very high level consultant. And he sold consulting.com when he built Skool, and then he was because he saw a gap in the market for communities. So he built Skool to help people build communities, and the mission was to help 1 million people find community. I think it was 1 billion, to help 1 billion people find community, right? Gosh, there's a big difference between 1 million and 1 billion.
Well, he's already done 1 million, hasn't he? I mean, there's millions of people on Skool.
Yeah, I suppose, from August, before Alex Hormozi launched the third book, there was 15 million users after 5 years. And when the book launched, he brought 1 million users to Skool just from the book launch. Wow. And since the book launch, it has steadily gained 1 million users per month. And the platform is around about 21 million users currently as it stands.
That's so amazing.
The book launch wasn't just like a one-time thing. It's continued to sustain, and there's 190,000 communities on Skool at the moment with 21 million users. It's growing at a phenomenal rate. But a little bit more about Sam. So Sam created the platform 2 years ago, I think, or maybe just a little bit over 2 years ago. Alex Hormozi came onto the scene, so he launched his second book, and he came on as a co-owner of Skool. So he bought into Skool, invested heavily, and launched his second book, and that brought a wave of people. Then with his third book, he brought another wave of people, and a lot of people still don't know who he is. You didn't know who he was before, but he is somebody that started, I think, around about maybe 2017 or something like that, or maybe 2019. I'm not too sure, but he's not been mega long into it. But he started off originally launching gyms, so he had his own gyms. Then he figured that launching gyms was more profitable, and he was basically able to scale that better, and he built that into a business. Then he realized that the principles that he had learned that applied to the gym launch business, which was his brand called Gym Launch, could be applied to many other business industries. And so he turned into a business consultant, and he created a brand called Acquisition, and he owns acquisition.com, the domain, and they consult for equity. They'll look at the business. If it does over $1 million per year turnover, then they could potentially come in, look at the business, and maybe invest for equity. And so that's what Alex does. I suppose his buy-in is to help school community owners get to 1 million turnover, and then he can step in and help them take their business to the next level. And that's essentially what the School Games is about, is to help the School Games winners, because one of the perks of winning the School Games is if you're one of the 45 winners. So if you rank the top 3 in any of the 9 communities, so you got those, and then you get flown out to the headquarters in LA, and you get a consulting day with Alex and the team, and you get to meet Sam as well, and Kirby. So Andrew Kirby is one of he's the first, I'd say, shareholder in Skool. So he one of the early ones that bought in. So yeah, very cool.
And he's British, isn't he, Andrew? But now works over there, so we see him every week on the Skool News.
Correct. So every Tuesday they have something called the Skool News, which is basically updates of what new things have happened on Skool. And very often they will feature rising stars, so interesting communities. Sam's featured many communities. Like there's a guy called Alex Ruiz that draws The Simpsons, and he's got a school community on there, and he was featured. And obviously you were featured recently, a couple of weeks ago, you were featured in spiritual beekeeping.
So yeah, what I love about there's so much I love about it, but with Sam Ovens, you see him every week on the Skool News, and he's very focused, very very dry, isn't he, really? He just says, this is what we're doing this week, this is what's working, this is what we're trying to improve. But that they listen. So you have a community for anyone who's got a community, schoolers, and people are posting, I love this, but it'd be really good if we could do this, or can we improve that, or when will this be coming live? And it's always listened to and then addressed. So to be on a platform where you're getting a response straight away and you're being heard by the founders. But even in the short time I've been involved, is understanding Sam Ovens. His passion is that people can earn a living from their passion. And so although we've talked about money and, millions and people, retiring early and having financial independence, he understands the importance of financial independence and how you have this huge swathe of the population who have skills that can help other people, but are not earning money from it. And then you have people that want those skills who are happy to pay for it. And he's bringing them together in such a genuine and heartfelt way. So it's not, when you join communities, many of them are free, and then you can pay if you want to have extra services, and that's the model I've put in. So I have a free community, but then if people want to do the spiritual beekeeping course, then they pay extra for that, and then that's the monthly recurring income. So my goal, and I've had to do deep inner work to be able to receive this, is I realize, and through my consultancy work, I would have people that would pay the money, and the profit from that money would enable me to do work that was more charitable, or work that I really wanted to do to learn or to educate other people. And when I decided to stop that because I went off to the island, I came back and I was like, oh my gosh, where is the money going to come from? I really am I've got to sell a book, or I've got to sell some honey. And you need a lot of that to be able to cover a flight anywhere. And then I started getting people approach me who've got bees lost in different parts of the world, and they want me to go there. Now, when I had some high ticket consultancy clients, I could just think, yeah, okay, I'll come over at my expense, at my time, and do the work that needs to be done. And that obviously was not sustainable, because I wasn't building up a retirement pot for myself, and I was just giving. And what I've had to come to with myself is valuing myself, that I am worthy of people contributing to the work I do. And that's been a really tough journey. And Sam Ovens really gets that with creatives. So with the musicians, with the artists, there's often talk that you should do it for free because you love it, or it's a hobby or whatever. And what Sam Ovens is trying to do is get people out of the jobs they hate so they can do the creative work all the time. And that's what we want to do. And that's what's so inspiring. And even when I was an artist, when I first started as an artist 37 years ago, my goal, because so many people said you can't earn a living as an artist, I wanted to prove them wrong. And I was determined to earn a living as an artist. And what I loved about both my careers is freedom, is that freedom to be creative, to do what I want to do, to go where I want to go, when I want to go there. And I've never been formally employed because I know I just couldn't cope with that. So I've taken huge risks in the big gamble of being fully responsible for my income throughout. But what was important to me was that I wasn't struggling, because if I'm struggling, how could I inspire other people to leave their life-draining jobs? And Sam gets this. There is no reason why creative people shouldn't be thriving, because when people thrive, whether they're creative or they're educators or whatever they're doing, when anybody is thriving, they give more, they contribute more, and they benefit society. And so this is what I love about Skool, is that is the core belief, that is the core values. And the way they've set up, I know some people have criticized Skool, saying, oh, but I like Facebook or I like Instagram because I can see what everybody's doing. And in Skool, you're in one community. But actually, what I love is I go on to Skool and I can look at my community and I'm not distracted with adverts or news or random people I knew 20 years ago popping up with something. I can just focus on Skool. And when I go into another community, I can focus on that, if I want to do one of their challenges or I want to do one of their courses, and I can focus. And I know there's so much talk at the moment of people struggling to focus. And for me, Skool helps you do that, because it's all compartmentalized. So it's just genius. And I went on an in real life meeting last week and met some UK schoolers. And
you must have met that raffling.
Yes, I did. I met Sam, I met Ez, I met Sean and Chris, the guitarist, and oh gosh, I always forget her name, but the Christmas tree lady, because she's always called the Christmas tree lady, and I think it's Sharon, who does she works with horses and healing. It was just so amazing that we've all got our communities. We spent 4 hours together just talking creatively. And Ez and Sean and Sam, they had some games for us to sort of, to help us think about how we can look after our communities. They answered any questions we had on how it works. And then the networking is phenomenal, because now we all know each other. We all want to work together, and we've all joined each other's communities. And so, the thing to help a community get going is you need a few people that are actually commenting, so that the people that are shy or nervous can look and they can go, oh, they're all having a conversation, I need to join in. And sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but I love Sam Ovens, where he uses this analogy of a community being like a party. So you're having a house party and you invite loads of friends, but he says you've got to have, some good music, some good food, and a good atmosphere. And also you've got to be there. And so many people, they set up a community and they expect it to just live on its own, but you have got to be there. You're the host. Yes. But the joy of any party, whether it's online or at home, is when you've managed to connect people and they're talking without you. They've been able to meet and make new friends. And that is what Sam uses as the analogy, is that you are hosting a party. So you don't invite any old person. You want to be quite strict who you let in, because it's into your home, your special place. And then you want to make sure the guests are enjoying themselves. And you're going to have some that will stand in the corner and won't come and interact. So you've got to introduce them directly to someone they can interact with. And that is just genius. And you don't get that support on other platforms, do you, to set up a community?
I don't think so. I think Skool is very unique in what it's got and what it's built. Yeah, I've been a member of many other communities. Skool. I've explored. What's the other ones? Circle, Go High Level. There's many, white labels of Go High Level. There's many other community building platforms, and there's nothing quite like Skool.
Mm.
They haven't got the momentum that Skool has. They don't have the worldwide affiliate infrastructure that Skool has. Simply the accounting alone. If you've got different affiliate agreements, it's not that common because most people aren't on this level. But if you wanted to have an affiliate agreement and have US affiliates, every state has got its own affiliate laws, and every county within every state has got its own laws. And so if you wanted to have affiliates in the US, you would have to have a different agreement at county level. So you could have hundreds of different agreements just to have, say, even one affiliate in that county. And so the red tape and the admin barrier in order to have affiliates is insurmountable for a small to medium-sized business. You would just not be able to keep up with the regulation. If there was a small change in any of those agreements, then or the law in those areas, you would have to have new agreements done, and then every affiliate would need to re-sign. But because Skool have taken care of all of that headache of getting the agreements, we as members and Skool community owners can benefit from the whole worldwide affiliate network and not have to deal with any of that logistical problem. And when we get the income, say if I was giving away a 40% commission, then my affiliate that brings in their referral, they get their 40. So say if it was $100, they would get their $40 and responsible for the taxes of their $40. I would only be responsible for the 60 instead of the total 100. And so if I went to the VAT threshold, I'd only have to pay VAT on my 60 rather than the 100, which is a massive difference. And I think this is not fully understood because many businesses on Skool are still at that very early stage. They're still making the first couple of $100, couple of $1,000. There's not that many communities that are making multiple 10,000s per month. And so this advantage that I see with the VAT side isn't fully understood yet. I guess most people, the penny hasn't dropped. They haven't seen that kind of level of money where they can see that tangible benefit. But that is a huge benefit that is baked into the Skool system.
No, that is amazing because, like you said, in Britain with the VAT laws changing, it can, if you can only earn a certain amount of money before paying VAT, which is 20%, you've got to put your prices up 20%. But actually, because of the extra admin, you need to put your prices up 40% just to allow for that. And yeah, the fact that, you take a sale on Skool and then you just get your part straight into your bank and so quick, they just make it so easy. It is genius. And I just love the heart-led center of it. It feels so in alignment with my business values to be associated with Skool. And I'm not a brand person, but when we're traveling, I am now going to order the hat and you've got the fleece on now.
Jumper on, yeah.
Yeah, it's just lovely because you want to meet other schoolers around the world. It's a conversation starter because if you go into an airport with a schooler's hat, somebody's going to come and go, oh my gosh, have you got your own community or which community you're in? And that's the kind of vibe that you have with it. And it isn't that competitive. It's not, although the games are competitive, but it's everybody wins, not for me to win, I have to take from you. And That's what I feel Skool is creating, a brand new business and life model based on community. And of course, and they get it about the bees. They get it that's what the bees are trying to teach us. So, it's wonderful. Now, we do have to talk about the painting behind you because it's very
Yeah.
and actually
Yes.
at times it sort of ties in with this development as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. Gosh, the painting, where do I start from there? So I won the painting in a charity auction. So, we had a charity event. There was an award ceremony, and this was one of the centerpieces at the awards on the day. And it was calling to me, let's say. It was calling to me for the whole day. And I wasn't originally planning to bid on it. And I thought, okay, well, I really do resonate with this painting. I like it a lot. And the name was called Your Wish originally. So the painting was called Your Wish. And then I made an initial bid on it at the awards. And we've got a mutual friend that's also called Nadine, and she's an oracle seer. And we've connected before on a mastermind. So we've been on one of Liz's masterminds, and we've connected. And I decided to call in a favor because I had a feeling that that there may be something with me in the painting. And so I messaged Nadine and I said, can you do me a favor? Can you check if this painting is it meant for me? Because I feel like it's meant for me. And I just wanted you to confirm if that was the case. And she was like, oh my gosh, yes, I can tell you it's definitely yes, but I will definitely check. And she checked and she was like, yep, definitely yes. And I originally made one bid first, and I thought, okay, well, now that I've had that kind of confirmation from Nadine, I felt pulled to make a second bid. And so I put in a second bid, and I won the painting by a hair's breadth, I've heard. So I heard from Liz, and Liz said there was a good amount of interest for the painting, and had I not made that second bid, I wouldn't have won it. And so I just won the painting. And then when I won the painting and the painting got transferred to me, Nikki, who is the creator of the painting, she told me the name her name changes from your wish to my wish, because now it's in my possession. And so she's called now My Wish. And that was round about the time where things started to change. So I obviously went in with Homosi, towards August, got the book launch, and this painting I think I got at the very beginning of August. And I signed up for Liz's 6-Figure Spaces. So she was creating a mastermind at the time, a training course that was around how you create a 6-figure space, so like a community. And I was seeing other people create, within our network, creating communities on Facebook, getting a lot of momentum and traction with those. And I felt a little bit stuck, to be honest. And I didn't know what I wanted to create a community around. I knew I wanted to create a community. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I didn't really want to do it in the service accommodation space that, I'm a very high level consultant in that area, but it's not something that I really enjoy. I'm very good at it. I don't run a service accommodation business anymore. I used to run a portfolio, very successful, but that's not where my joy was. And so I was a bit stuck about what type of community I want to create. And then along came this Alex Hormozi launch, and then this book, and then I created this community, and this was kind of on the back of this winning this painting. And so there was this whole journey that started. And in Skoolers, so you're aware of this, is once you are a Skool community owner, you automatically get to be a part of this community called Schoolers, where it supports you to grow your school, and there's training on there on how do you develop a community, how do you start your first 3 people to start the movement. Then you find your first 10 raving fans, and then you get that early momentum support. And I posted a post in Schoolers about my painting, and it was just titled My Wish, and it's on there. If anybody wants to look at it, it would be schoolers.com/schoolers/my wish with a hyphen, my wish. That post was just to talk about my journey, a little bit about my journey, how I came to be with the painting, and then also what my wish was. And my wish was to build more community, to help people win the school games. I wanted to win the school games, and I wanted to not just do that alone. I wanted to have a group of people, a community of people that would win the school games together. There's 45 podium positions, and I thought how cool it would be if we could even take all 45 positions in our network. And that was that was the intention of my post, and I put it out there, and it got a lot of momentum. Like that post, I think it's probably got about 200 comments. I haven't checked recently, but it brought a number of people that were kind of community led, that were kind of pay it forward type people. And they were looking for collaborators. They were looking for people to network with and do something good with, but they all struggled to find other people like them. And so that post was almost like a magnet to gather these people together, because they all commented. And then after having conversations on that thread, a lot of those people then came and joined my community, and I joined their community, and there was this kind of exchange that was really lovely. And a lot of those people now, over these number of months, have become very firm friends on Skool, wonderful school friends. Some of those are in your communities now as well. It's such a wonderful ecosystem, and to see this grow and all these relationships and friendships being built.
No, it's amazing. And it's, Nikki, her work, I've known her, about 35 years. And so when she joined our business network, it was just so exciting for me, because her work had taken a new level, and it is energetic, and she paints these portals. So anybody listening, the painting behind Tommy is like a swirl, and then it's got gold in the center, so it does look like a reverse black hole. You're sort of drawn into it, but it also is coming out at the same time. You can sort of feel the vibrations. And Nikki she's an energy artist, so she works with Reiki. So she'll actually mark the canvas before she puts paint on with Reiki symbols, and she used Palo Santo, and then she used ground up crystals. I mean, the whole process of her work is just astonishing. And so it's so fitting that her work is now, with Skool, and that it prompted your success. And I think this is what is so special about you, Tommy, and why I wanted to talk to you is because you really work from the heart. You understand business, but everything you do is heart-led first. And the way that you've attracted people and shared them, you haven't had all these people come to your post and thought, oh, great, these are my contacts. You've then told me about them. You've told them about me, and you've told each other about each other. And so you have created, almost like your wish, your portal. It is just all these schoolers who are just in this vortex, and it's speeding up, and we're attracting more and more people into it. We're all finding our tribe, and that's it's so exciting. And I think anyone who's listening to this who isn't on Skool or isn't in my community yet, what is so astonishing is that you could have an hour or 20 minutes or 4 hours on Skool, and you come away so energized, so uplifted, so positive. just like the good old days on Friends Reunited, you know, when you would sort of find all your old schoolmates that you haven't spoken to for 20 odd years. And then, you know, it's just that like, oh, wow, I've met this person, or we've had this conversation. And that, you know, this day and age, so often we go online and we come away feeling drained, depleted, and even depressed. And yet school is like in real life but online. You know, it is just phenomenal. And again, Sam is really encouraging all these meetups, you know, for people to meet up. There's even a school bus that is doing a world tour. And you know, but this isn't something that Sam said we're going to have a school bus. It's something that's evolved from different community owners. They're like, okay, I want to go on tour, and hey, I've bought an old school bus, let's have a school bus tour. And yeah, this is what's so incredible, is I really feel the new way of business, the new way of communicating, the new way of community is all coming from school. And so like your portal painting, it's like school is in the center and it's just resonating out. So and I love what you're doing now is you are inviting more people to come so that you can help them set up their communities. And they're welcome to join my community because it's so friendly, and they can just come in and just see how it works, because I don't mind if they go up and set up another community. And it's just that easy way in. And, you know, by me joining your community, I could get an idea of what was happening. So yeah, it just feels so the way forward, you know.
And it's just starting as well, because you've only, you know, you've had a lot of momentum to get the membership of Skool, and you know, you've been building out the classroom. So you've got spiritual beekeeping as a course, you've got
Bee Basics, Bee Foundation course, and then students that had already been doing my other courses, they're now on there. And you can set up anything as a course. You know, it's like I don't like the word container, but it's a space where people can come in and learn different things, and it's so easy to set up. So my biggest restriction is time, because I keep having ideas and thinking, oh, I could put that on there, or I could put this on there. But yeah, I've met so many amazing people. I've got so many amazing people who've come into my community, and using the hive mind for the new spiritual beekeeping course, it's just expanding, you know, which is interesting because that's my word for this year. It's expansion. And but yeah, expanding in deeply spiritual ways, and that's what's so really heartwarming.
Yeah, I remember when you did that post, you were asking about, you know, what people's word of the year was, and my one is alignment for this year. So yours is expanding, mine is alignment. You know, they're very good words, and on that list, you know, if people are listening and they join your community, they can find the post and add their own word for the year. But there's some wonderful words in that thread.
Oh, there is, and everybody's different. Everybody's in a different stage of their journey. And what I really love about the words of the year is at the end of the year, you can reflect back, and they've never quite been how you thought. You know, you know, it's interesting how the universe conspires for you, giving you the opportunities for that word to manifest. And it's just another layer of work, you know, but setting that intention for the beginning of the year. And I would just like to talk about, and I'm terrible because I've forgotten her name, but there is a lady, a friend of yours, who's just Eva, who won the school games.
Yes.
And she's just come back from Los Angeles, where she had her day with Alex Hormozy. And what's unusual about Eva is, firstly, she's a woman, and there's still not a high proportion of women that have been winning the games. So that was interesting in itself. But also, she won the games, and her monthly recurring revenue was relatively small. But she won it because she has such an engaged community, and it's connect and collab, you know, and she loves everybody in her community. She's always on there. And we were all taken on the whole journey to Skool HQ and on the way back again. And you've been working with her, or you've been in her community too, haven't you?
Yes. Gosh, yeah. So Ava is a very special person. Ava Raposa, she's got a school community called Connect and Collab. So connection and collaboration. And she's a very heart-led person as well. She focuses very much on the connection side. She's very, very strong marketer. She's done marketing for a long time, and so she understands how that all works deeply. But she focuses more on the human connections. She's not after the scarcity, the pressure sales, the salesy and the hype stuff. It's very much human connections, and that's what she focuses on. And when she was going for the school games, which was only, I'd say maybe even towards the end of October, so it was towards the middle of season 4, quarter 4, where she was decided to go for the school games, and she didn't want to do that in a high pressure way, which there are some school communities and in many business models where you do scarcity. You will say there's a certain number of places left and there's a certain number of time, and if you don't take the offer and then you lose it or the price goes up. Ava didn't do any of that stuff, and so she's in the relationships category, and the competition generally, I mean, I wouldn't say it's generally lower. It is a little bit lower, in terms of other categories, but it did seem disproportionately low for quarter 4 for some reason. And she didn't even market to her list. It was just purely her school connections that she had made and the community that she'd built. And I suppose even that wasn't, she hadn't been building that for a long time. It was, again, from the Hormozy launch around about that period of time where she created the Connect and Collab community. So she revived an older community and then renamed it Connect and Collab, and then that's where the community is now. And I think she's almost at 500 members, but at the time she was only around about 200 members, I think, from memory. And she was able to win the school games, and I think she got almost $3,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and she's still around about there, 2007, something thereabout, which is just a wonderful achievement from a relatively small group. And it is very highly engaged, like you said. She values every single person. She knows people by their name. She knows every single member because it's an intimate, connected group. And she facilitates a lot of these connections. So we, as members, connect very well with other members in the community. And it does very much feel like a family. Like, she's very big into the theme of Care Bears. And the community very much has this Care Bear vibe, very hard, very human connections. She's even got a disclaimer in there, or a rule, that if anybody is using AI, it has to be disclosed, first of all, and it has to be disclosed at the top of your post. At the very beginning, you have to let people know that you've used AI to create your post so that people can make the decision if they want to engage with that content or not.
Wow.
And I don't see this anywhere else, but I love that. She really sets the culture of her community. She sets the boundaries, and it's very much human-led, and you feel safe in that space.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's connection. It's all around connection.
It is. And I mean, I've only joined her community sort of towards the end of last year, and I was still getting to understand what the school games were. And like you said, everywhere else there was this hustle. It was like, okay, we need to raise this money and we need to up our scores. And she wasn't doing that at all. She was like, I'm so grateful that you're all here and thank you for talking. And then when she wins, I think everyone was crying because she made us all feel like we'd all won. everyone in her group, we'd all won. And then there she is in her hotel in Los Angeles showing pictures of what dress do I wear when I go and meet Sam Ovens, and it's that kind of connection. So this is what's lovely, really, really lovely, is just to see how these communities are building. And she's in Brazil, and it's making the world smaller, isn't it? People all around the world are now connecting. And from my community now, we've got a lot of people in Minnesota and that part of America. And my best friend Randy, she's from Minnesota, and she's always wanted me to go. And now there's a group in my community saying, right, we've got to get Paula out to Minnesota to do a book launch, to do a talk, to do a workshop. And it's like, wow, it is that community collaboration, supporting each other. And I just love it. So I am eternally grateful to you, Tommy, because if you hadn't introduced me, I would not have known about Skool, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And my goal, when I came back last year, was to really focus on community. And it was something that was so important to me, to build a community of people that could talk about bees, where we could share what the bees are telling all of us individually. They're not just talking to me, they're talking to everybody. And to have that community, because I know in the changing world, it's the community that helps us all navigate difficult times. And living in such an authentic community on Cocos, we really noticed it was missing here. And so by creating it, that was what I wanted to do, was bring the experience that we get from being in community. And with so much mental health or poor mental health around the world, community really helps that, doesn't it? It really brings people together and helps people feel heard, seen, belonging. It's just so valuable. So I love that your wish is to help all these communities, and you are doing an amazing job with supporting us all. So thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. And I love that we're building all of this together. It's a whole ecosystem. It's a whole hive of activity. It's exciting.
It is. Well, thank you very much, Tommy. And I'm sure we'll have you again when we're both winning the Skool games and really helping more people see how important community is.
Well, we've still got this quarter to go. So we're in quarter one of the Skool games. We've gone past January now, but we're still at the beginning of February. So I think, we'll make a go of the Skool games and see what we can get to at the end of the quarter. Yeah,
let's see. But again, we've got Eva's example to follow. It's not about scarcity. It's not about pushing. It's about natural, organic building and the desire people have to connect with each other and supporting that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tommy. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm sure we'll be chatting later on Skool anyway.
Yep, wonderful. All right.
Bye. Thank you for listening. And so I've had Tommy Gan here, and if you want to know more about Skool or about the communities, then just come along to skool.com. And if you do /spiritual beekeeping, you'll find me. Or if you look in the show notes, there's a direct link so that you can come straight into the community. And I'd love to see you there. And if you want to meet Tommy, I'll put Tommy's links in the show notes too. So thanks very much for listening. Bye.
You have to become yourself.
Join us next time on Creating a Buzz About Health podcast with Paula Tommy Gan. Buzz you later.